everybody, my name is Greg. Some of you all know me by Speed Freak, and welcome to Shogun Auto House. Today we are in the beautiful seaside town of Port Dickson, and it's our very first episode. What better way to kickstart the first ever episode than to review the icon, the legend, the king of all Malaysian cars, the MYVI. Now, as we all know, back in 2005 when the MYVI was introduced in Malaysia, it was actually based off the Daihatsu Sirion. Now, that was for the first and the second generation MYVIs. Now, the one that we're looking at today is the third generation MYVI, launched all the way back in November 2017. Now, this MYVI was a major step up and a milestone for Perodua for one very important reason. This, folks, is a locally sourced, talent-designed MYVI. You heard me correctly, this was designed in-house. So much so that Daihatsu instead has decided to rebadge it as one of their own. Another major milestone for Perodua. Now, since 2005, the icon itself has actually grown in appreciation amongst the Malaysian households. They have started to see, wow, what a great car this really is. And over the years, it has lived up to its reputation and as it is right now. So, let's go on and see what exactly is giving it that king reputation. Alright, so we're going to start things off with the front fascia of the car itself. Now, as we can see, it's gone through a very radical change. The bumpers, the front, everything is actually changed completely 360. The first thing though that's going to hit you is the chrome. It's chrome overload. It's literally chrome here, chrome here, chrome here. It's just chrome everywhere. I mean, I get it, chrome is supposed to be, a mark of exclusivity. It's supposed to show you that you are owning and driving the best of that particular model. But for those of you who are not really into chrome, it's going to get to you. So yeah, for me, I'm not really concerned. I like my chrome, but of course, I don't like too much of it either. Now, the other thing I want to talk about would be the lights themselves. As you can see, the lights has gone through a radical change too. It's no longer that bulbous, round, hideous egg-like lamp that we used to have with the previous versions. Rather, this one has gotten a more distinctive, sharper, aggressive look. And with this look, they've also now added, for the first time in the MYVIs, an LED headlamp, which is fantastic. It's nice. We always wanted LED on these cars, right? Usually LEDs is something you'd find on other higher range cars, but never on a MYVI. But hey, we got it now. The only thing I don't quite understand about it is they've got the LED headlamps, but the little lights here and the little fog lamps there, yeah, they're still halogen, so it kind of gives off that mix-up vibe, which I don't quite get. I mean, if you're going to change it, why not just put everything LEDs, right? That would do the trick. But apart from that, it looks great. The fog lamps, I'm glad that they've managed to retain the fog lamps. It's an icon of a MYVI. It started off with the first generation. It's just showing that it's been carried over. The one thing that I didn't quite like is the fact that they removed the DRLs. The DRLs, they came in on the second gen MYVI, they looked great, they were integrated within the headlamp itself, only for them to be removed with this one. So, yeah, I really hope that they make some changes to that at least. And of course, let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you notice one little thing that's different with the hood of this car compared to the previous generation. Yeah, if you are observant, you'll notice the water jets are no longer attached to the body, they are now separated and kept together with the wiper assembly right here. So that gives the car a very clean, smooth look. This I like. At least it does not look hideous, and you don't have these little watermarks attached to this part here. Otherwise, it's going to be here, it's going to be here. Ugh, hideous. Right, now let's go ahead and see what's powering this bad boy here. What we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is the 2NR-FE engine. Now, if you're wondering why it sounds so familiar, it's because it's the same engine that's being used by Daihatsu and Toyota for some of their own models. So it's a shared technology. Hence, it's a reliable engine. Come on, it's from Toyota, guys. It's reliable, right? Now, what I really like about this is that it provides the torque and the power. It's 102 horsepower, comes with 136 Newton meters of torque, which is more than sufficient for this car. What I really like about the layout of the engine itself is how easy it looks to actually get a hold of items, right? It's easy to work on. And if you're wondering how a lot of these MYVIs are actually able to wade through the floods. Yeah, it's been pretty floody in the recent ones here. So, two very important reasons. One, the air vent. You notice it's not on the bottom side of the engine bay, it's on the top. The battery itself is also been elevated. So, with me saying this though, that does not mean I'm actually encouraging you to go through floodwaters. I don't want you to turn your cars into boats. They're cars for a reason, guys. So don't quote me on this. This is a car, not a boat. Now, one thing I do need to highlight about this engine though, it's great and all, but I really wish that it came with an extra radiator fan. As you can see, guys, there's only one radiator fan to cool down the entire engine. You need at least 2 fans to actually efficiently cool down the engine and support enough for the air conditioning system. So Perodua engineers, if you're hearing, hope you can consider adding on an extra fan maybe. Yeah, but apart from that, engine itself is simple, straight to work. The one thing I really wish that has changed but has not would be the stick to hold the engine hood up. Come on guys, really? This is flimsy, guys. And look, this is where we actually put this. I think we are coming to a phase where hinges and holes should really be phased out. In a car like this, it'll be nice if you have that little hydraulic hold, you know? The hydraulic arm would be really nice. But apart from that, it's a good little car. All right, now moving on to the side profile of the car itself, we're going to start with the doors themselves. Now, if you remember how the previous generation MYVI used to look like, right? It had a very bulbous-like door, a little bit eggish, if I say so. Now, with this car, they've actually redesigned it so it looks a little bit more smoother on the edges, not so eggish, and I definitely like the part that they still retain the keyless entry. Now, I'm just going to have a show on this. So before that, you see, chrome doors. Life ain't good if it's not without chromes, right? So if you got to unlock it once, that only opens the driver door. Press it again, it unlocks all 4 doors. Now that's a really neat feature, but what happens if your keyless entry doesn't actually work? Well, Perodua has thought up of that. That's in the key fob. You see, there is a backup manual key in here. All you got to do is pull this, pull the key out, and what do you know? You get to unlock the door. All right, so now we want to look at the side mirrors themselves, the wing mirrors is how we call it. Now, yes, it does look snazzy and all. It's got this little LED indicator here, so others can actually see when you're using them. But more importantly, I want to talk about the feature of the auto fold that comes with this variant of the MYVI. Now, in most cases, when you have an auto fold, that's automatic. It's supposed to automatically close when you turn off the engine and lock the door. However, with this model, that's not quite the case. That only folds if you press the button from the inside. If you don't, well, it's exactly as it is right now. Look at me, I'm outside, the door's locked, the engine is shut off and it's still open, but okay, that works I suppose. It still has a feature at least. Now, apart from these features that we've just spoken about, there's nothing else really noteworthy about the side panel. Of course, it does come with the side skirts. This comes with the variant itself. And if you are looking for a more finished look on your car, what we could advise is to just install some sun visors on this. This will actually pretty much do the work. These are door visors. They are maybe about 6 inches or so. Yeah, that'll complete the look. But apart from that, nothing really else. All right, now moving on to the single most safety feature of any car actually, the tires. You don't move without the tires, guys. Now with Perodua, what they've done with this particular MYVI, now again, remember guys, there's 4 variants in this MYVI. The one we're testing is the one with the highest variant, the advanced version. Now what they've done with this car is that they have included a really unique 2-tone design 5-spoke rim. It's wrapped with Goodyear tires. It's Goodyear Assurance, and it's going at 185/655 with a 15-inch rim size. Not a bad choice. It is definitely, and I'm not kidding when I say this, worlds better than the Silverstone that was usually wrapped with Perodua cars. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of Silverstone, guys, so it's a welcoming change to see these tires instead. And of course, for added improvements, especially with the braking system, they have ensured that you still have brake discs in the front and brake drums in the back. Now, to make the braking even more efficient, they've also added the EBD on it, so it's electronic braking distribution. That actually helps to ensure the car brakes within sufficient time. All right, we're going to move on to the back part of the car now. Now, this is also where you see a pretty radicalized change compared to the previous generation MYVIs. The first thing you're going to notice are the lights themselves. Now, if you remember, the first 2 generations, their lights were on a vertical slates. These are not vertical, ladies and gentlemen. These are horizontal. They are brand new, and the LEDs themselves, rather than them giving that bulb-like multiple bulb appearance, this one comes with a single line down here, like a reverse 7. Apart from that, nothing else is too notable. The lights themselves really look great though. But if you look at the general shape of the trunk, right, it looks a little bit more angular, it has a little bit more roundness to it. Looks cute if you ask me. The bumpers themselves has gone through a really nice change. It looks more aggressive, more, you know, distant, and look at those vents. At least it's something interesting, right? The only downside is, while the front and the sides came with skirtings, this one didn't. So it looks a little bit empty on the bottom. If you want, you can actually fix this. It's not really too much work. Just bring it to the body shop and just get them to put an extra skirting. You've got the usual rear parking sensors. The boot release is actually just below the logo. So all you gotta do is just prop 2 fingers and it opens. Now there's also the little reverse camera that's coming up right here. So pretty decent. You've got your rear wipers. The spoiler is actually a pretty nice kit. I like the spoilers. And with that, they've also included the shark fin antenna. So you don't have the little stick antenna anymore. Apart from that, it looks pretty much the same to me. All right, now the next aspect we're gonna look at is how much junk can we actually put in the trunk? So in this case, not very much, but still larger than before. So we have the trunk, it's enough to maybe put 3 little suitcases, which is all right, not too bad. Now if we look in the bottom here, for once, we actually have a full-sized spare tire. And I'm not talking steel rims, I'm actually talking the exact same alloys that this car is running on. That's a first and I'm impressed. That's how it should be, guys. You should always have a full-size spare tire. Same rims, same size, same everything. Now, of course, in terms of the safety devices, we do have the safety triangle. The jacks and the spanners are all at the bottom here, which is cool. One thing that I'm still not very a fan of is the quality of this little string they use here. Come on, guys, really? This? I think my nephew can tie this better than this. They really got to use something better. Maybe like, you know, a hydraulic arm, or maybe a nicer strap, maybe. Guys, this is like a shoestring, man. And this, come on, really? Perodua, you got to work on this, guys. But apart from that, it's more than enough. It's functional. So as you can see, it is being held by hydraulic arms. Now, when I do lower the boot, it does go down. There's an extra layer of space on top here, which goes up accordingly. And of course, with that being said, nothing else very notable on the trunk. Space-wise, more than enough. A little bit of extra space on either end to put those little nitty-gritty things. But apart from that, everything else is the same. Closing it, not an issue. Opening it, even easier. See, pretty easy. And that's the boot. Right, now what I really like about the new feature here is how simple it actually is. When we look at the aircon climate, right, this is another thing I want to talk about here. Now, if you take a look, you notice it's all been digitalized. So previously, they still came with those little knob controls, which was like so 2000s. It's already now, what, 2022, guys. Let's look into the future. We've got technology at our back. And more importantly, on what are the other key features it comes with. So, of course, you do have this. This will be the front defroster. So what this actually does is, whenever your windows are cold and misty, all you gotta do is turn it on, and it heats up the front mirror. And actually, not just heats it up, it also blows the air right into it. So it kind of balances it out. So turn this off. Now the other thing we do have here, we have circular feature that's standard. But on top of that, you have feet aircon. Something we've been looking forward to. We still have this here. But let's move it up a little bit and take a look at the infotainment system. So for once, we have a touchscreen. It looks great, just like the previous generation. Comes with a touchscreen feature, has its own GPS. Of course, we can turn this on. Pretty straightforward, simple, but unfortunately not very user-friendly. There are some room for improvements. The GPS is atrocious. I do not like this GPS at all. Now, of course, you do have a little slot over here for memory card. This you don't find in a lot of players, but this one does have it. You have the ability to mute your audio straight up. You can actually put in another USB slot in here, connects directly to the player. You've got your standard volume up, volume down. You've got this over here. You've got your next and previous buttons here. Standard little features. Now, of course, you've got the USB function. Of course, you don't have a USB, so it's fine. You do have the opportunity to actually link your phone. Unfortunately, guys, this only works for Android. So all of you iPhone users, including me, we gotta hang in there, right, guys? We gotta wait it out. So that works. You can basically link and mirror your phone to the device. Navigation, you've seen the navigation, atrocious. You've got the SD card, you've got the conventional Bluetooth. Right, so in case you've got a device that has Bluetooth, you need to pair it. Here's where you pair it. So you can just hit on the connect, it finds the Bluetooth. Just make sure yours is on. It'll get paired up and then voila, it's paired. Okay, now I also want to touch on the safety features of the car itself, because this also is playing a key role in attracting new buyers and repeat buyers. Now, reason being is, right, this MYVI has gone through leaps in terms of safety features offering. If you were to compare it with other makes and models of the same category and even higher, they all don't have everything that the MYVI does. They may have some, but not all. So I'm going to start with the most basic. We have, of course, the airbags. Now, compared to the previous models that came with just the standard 2 airbags, this MYVI variant comes with 6 airbags. That is a good move. We have the standard ABS, which is a very much needed necessity in these days of driving. We have EBD, which is electronic brake distribution, that assists with your braking, that also couples up with brake assist. You've got traction control, and I want to talk about this little baby right here. This is something that's brand new to the MYVI. It's called the ASA, the Advanced Safety Assist. Now, this is revolutionary because no Peroduas had ever been produced with this or been offered with this. The MYVI became the very first. Now, if you're wondering what this actually does, it basically enhances the safety capabilities of the car in the sense that it comes with certain features like AEB, which is the automatic emergency braking. It also has lane assist as well, which actually helps with the movement of the car, and a few others that is tied up with it. This actually can help, especially being a city car, it can help to reduce the occurrences of bumper to bumper fender benders, is how we call them. So I don't mind, that's a pretty good feature. And to think that we are actually getting this in a MYVI, but not in a car that's maybe even twice the price, that's astounding if you think about it. So kudos to the MYVI on that. So now we're going to talk about another important aspect on the interior of the MYVI. That is space, and more space. Now, as we know, even from 2005 when they came up with the first MYVI, right, space was clearly not an issue. Anybody, and I do mean anybody, can sit comfortably, well, fairly comfortably in the MYVI. And this now also includes myself. Now, by no means of length am I average in terms of height and size as a Malaysian. I actually tower above 190 centimeters. And of course, as you can see, I am not exactly model material. But one thing I like to note here, look at how much headroom I got. Look at this. I have got a good 3 inches worth of headroom above me. And for once, I'm actually in a car that has sufficient legroom as a driver. Again, I have about 3 inches worth of space in front of me, thanks to the design of the dashboard as well. As you can see, it's a little bit curved, so it maximizes on legroom. I gotta appreciate Perodua for doing that. And I don't need to actually rest my knees against the surface of the dashboard. Another good feature. I love that. And of course, I do need to recline my seat. I'm not someone who likes to sit vertically. I am a little bit reclined, so perhaps that's also assisting. But having the right seats with the right kind of space actually plays a big role. So as a driver, I would rate this as an A+ on my end. I'm happy with the seats, with the configuration of the driver's position. Right, now while it's important as a driver to have adequate driving space, it is also equally as important for the passengers to have adequate comfort as well. Now, as a passenger, I must say, space is definitely still not an issue, because as you can see, even in the rear, I do have adequate headroom. Not as great as the front. This one is down to about 2 inches above my head, which is still decent. But what really surprises me is check out the legroom I've got in front of me. I've got even more legroom than I did in the front. I've got a good 4 inches worth of legroom in front. And a person of maybe 170 to 175 centimeters in height, they can actually sit very comfortably at the front of the seat. The only thing that I would have appreciated would have been the seat themselves. If they had been a little bit more reclined, they feel a little bit too rigid for me. And I do understand the designers are probably doing it to save on the space in the back, but it kind of robs us a little bit of comfort in that sense. And of course, we still do not have adequate thigh support. Again, very likely to ensure space. There is actually enough space on the center well for a third person to be seated in the middle and to rest their legs here. But as a four-seated passenger car, it's more than sufficient, if you ask me. Right, we are now driving the MYVI. Right, so for those of you who don't know, this is a 2019 model. It's a 4-speed automatic, and the variant that I am test driving today is the advanced variant. This is the top of the range. So my first impression, to be honest, I actually kind of like it. Because here's what I've noticed with this car. I've driven this car for a few good days, and what I really like about it is just how ready the car is constantly. So you can take this car out pretty much anywhere, anytime, and the car is just ready to go. You start it up, there's no moments of it's not being ready, or it's not like someone who hasn't had their cup of coffee kind of thing. So this is something I don't get a lot with many others. But this one, I'm getting it. I'm happy with this. The other thing that I really like is the general space, the quietness of the car itself. So that's what I'm going to start off with first. If you look at the noise, vibration and harshness, right? So you are going to have some of these, concerns with some of the other cars. This car, on the other hand, because it is listed as an EEV, that's an energy efficient vehicle, right? That means that one of the criteria to get this certification is for the car itself to have reduced noise, vibration and harshness. And it's actually living up to that. See, I'm going at about 80 kilometers an hour now. It's actually pretty smooth. Yes, the road noise is a little bit present because of the tires. And this is something we can change very easily. It's a very variable change. But apart from that, it is actually quite silent. I get vehicles passing around me and I get, external noise, but it doesn't really intrude the cabin. The engine is silent, it doesn't intrude the cabin. On higher speeds, yes, there's a little bit of wind noise coming from around here from all the windows, but it's very minute. My only grouse that I have for the interior noise would be the occasional rattling, and that comes from the back. So I think that comes from the ISOFIX seat section, I think. But yeah, that's a little small thing. I'm not too concerned about it. If you look at the general, the handling itself, I will have to agree the handling is a little stiff because they go on the stiff side of the suspensions. Great on the highways, great on the corners, but the one thing that's really not shining with this car in terms of that handling would be when you're going on pothole-ridden roads or uneven roads, bumpy roads. You are going to feel every single bump, and I do mean every single bump. So not very comfy, can be bone jarring, but if you can live with that for the sake of the handling, that's fine. Because here's one common issue that's been facing cars like Perodua, is that when you go at certain speeds higher than the speed limit, your car tends to float a little bit, and this is quite prevalent because the car itself is light. Well, surprisingly, you don't get this problem here. So with this car, right, you can go at speeds even up to 100, maybe 140, 150. You don't actually feel that floatiness. It's planted to the ground. It feels firm. I like that. That's what gives me confidence to drive on any car, all right? But apart from that, I don't really have complaints about the overall handling. Now, if you look at the other aspect, which is the general features that's attached with the car, like the powertrain, right? We're going to go with the powertrain here. The powertrain on this car is still a standard 4-speed automatic, trusted and tried since 2005. Now, of course, at the time of this video, Perodua has already launched a facelifted model that has debuted its DCVT on the MYVI. But even with this version of the car, the 4-speed, it still handles very well. It accelerates as efficiently. It is giving me enough to go on highways, on inclinations, on town roads. It's sufficient. I'm happy with this. It's a 1.5 engine, by the way, guys, so believe me, that 200cc makes a big difference. So I've got no complaints on that aspect. The one thing that I'm not too too particularly fond of is the turning radius of this car. So when you turn, when you're on city roads, right, turning radius matters. You need to make that full circle. With this car, you're going to need to have certain occasions where you can't really make a full circle. You actually need to make a 3-point turn. So those are the uncomfortable moments you don't want to find yourself in. But again, it's a very small price to pay for all the changes that has been brought upon this car. And as a driver, if you were to ask me, these are the little things that I would look at anyhow, especially if I'm driving in town. But as an overview on long-term usage and all, it doesn't really matter to me. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the 2019 Perodua MYVI. So it has come a very long way since its inception back in 2005, and I must say it has done exceptionally well in that growth. Now, I would personally say this is a car that has become and grown into a Malaysian icon, and quite frankly, after reviewing it, I've got to say I am generally impressed myself. Now, with that being said, our journey has come to its end, and before we end the journey, I would like to give you my honest feedback on what I think about this MYVI. So, based on the reviews, I'm going to say this MYVI gets a solid A- from me. Plus points being on how easy and nimble the car actually is to drive and to look after, but the minus points as with the suspension itself being on the firm side, not being too comfortable, and with more room for improvements in terms of comfort, ride comfort, seat comforts, those sorts of things. But overall, I can say for certain the car itself will check off all of your boxes of the requirements you look for when purchasing a new car. So if you're ever looking for a MYVI, guys, I will say go right ahead. You will not regret that buy. This is a really good car to get. And with that being said too, I would also like to very humbly request for all of y'all to like, comment and subscribe to our channel that's listed in the below there. That's Shogun Auto House. And with that being said, I will take my leave. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode and on this journey. Till the next journey, my name is Greg and I will see you again.